We have Cobon and the zonal coordinator of Subi Cobon Southeast.
No. First paragraph.
Where? First paragraph? Second paragraph?
That's the first line on that page now.
Cobon.
Yes, where we have Cobon.
Cobon?
The next one. That's after coordinator of. Yes. Thank you.
Bourbon. What does Bourbon connote? We spelled it out the other time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cobon. Okay, Cobon. Okay. Which again? Are we good to go? The next paragraph, no comment. Can we go to observations?
No, I've not finished second
You've
paragraph.
not finished.
Second line.
The paper emphasizes.
A second sentence, second paragraph. The paper emphasized the significance of the Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law in the context of national development. The panel session was moderated by Town Planner Steve Onu, Fellow Nigerian Institute of Town Planning and past President of Nigerian Institute of Town Planning.
Comments? Can we proceed? Comments? So we'll go to observations. Observations.
Observations. The conference observed the following. The lack of domestication and implementation of the Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law, Cap 38 of the Law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 2004 in most states within the Federation. Should we go on?
It's okay, read on.
No, Ayinde is talking. Okay. Observation 2. Critical issues of deteriorating infrastructure with significant implications for the quality of Nigerian cities beyond 2020. Ask them if we can move on.
Can we move on? Can we move on, please? What we're doing basically is to correct line by line. Once it's okay, then we can move on. Go, number 3.
Number 3, insufficient collaboration with the National Commission for Museums and Monuments in the protection, preservation, restoration, and conservation of monuments as stipulated in the Urban and Regional Planning Law and international charters.
Comments? It's too early.
Justified the essence of discussing this theme.
I agree with you, sir. Very, very correct.
It's
I agree
relevant
with you.
but too early.
It should be like the last or second to the last point. I agree.
Okay, are we going to leave it or take it down?
We take it down.
Huh?
Cut it and bring it to second to the last.
Okay. All right, number 3.
Don't forget, go on.
Oh, yes.
Go on, put it. Paste it. We forget to.
I even wanted to say you should just complete first.
Number 3, observation number 3. The Urban and Regional Planning Law is not adequately streamlined along regulatory frameworks.
Comments? Yeah. Yes, what we're saying basically here is that you have the regulatory frameworks even at the state level, federal, and all the rest. The existing law as it is right now, we got all this information from the papers that were presented, that the existing law not streamlined with what we currently do at the state, federal level. That's what we are saying. This is an observation. Yes.
Now, if you are saying that adequate structures as outlined in the urban and regional planning law have not been established for effective implementation, that is easier to understand.
Okay, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. But basically, these are the observations we got from the. We have laws, but the laws not streamlined with what the structures that we have in place right now.
By that, you are justifying the states who refuse to domesticate. 1 and 2 are they're contradicting themselves. I think 1 and 3 contradicting themselves. Remove it. You are number 1. You said only few. Tell us what we found was only 5 in the country have been able. And there are states.
No, wait.
Then the federal government has not done its own part. Bring us number 1. You see it first. Bring out number 1 first and let's look at it.
Number one.
No, then there's another one there where you say up to number 1. Number 1 up. Number 1 up. Or is it number 2? I don't know.
Vice President. I want to make a suggestion. Let them read it. Because it's going one by one. Let them read everything. They have a general view, and then we go back. Then start ordering them. Okay, I have spoken with the chairman board of trustees, and he has agreed that we should go through first.
Okay, go through first.
Just read through.
Okay.
We have a mental
Picture
idea
of
of
what
what you are trying to present,
Okay.
and then we will now go back and begin to screen one by one.
One by one.
Thank you.
All right. Observation 4. The urban and regional planning law is deficient in regulatory frameworks that clarify the roles and responsibilities of various planning agencies and actors. Observation 5. Lack of collaboration and harmonization among jurisdictions and actors, including ministries, departments, and agencies. Observation 6. The law does not adequately provide mechanisms that promote public participation in addressing underlying socioeconomic issues and realities related to urban and regional planning. Observation 7. The absence of the Urban and Regional Planning Commission, Board, Planning Authority for the preparation of national physical plans in Nigeria and most states. Observation 8. The law does not adequately capture strategies that could promote an integrated and adaptive approach to urban and regional planning in response to the dynamics of urban development in Nigeria. Observation 9. The law also does not adequately address enforcement and compliance strategies that leverage technology-enabled systems and incentive-based approaches. Observation 10. Lack of synergy in the co-production of knowledge among all professionals in the built environment. Observation 11. Poor funding for planning agencies and the absence of planning tribunals at the lowest level of planning law implementation in Nigeria. Observation 12. Weak enforcement of ethical standards by professional associations and their regulatory bodies. Observation 13. Inadequate town planning professionals and other allied professionals at the federal, state, and local levels. Observation 14. Assumption by unqualified officers to man physical planning and development control agencies and institutions in some states. Observation 15. Insufficient collaboration with the National Commission for Museums and Monuments in the protection, preservation, restoration, and conservation of monuments, as stipulated in the Urban and Regional Planning Law and international charters. Recommendation. In view of the aforementioned observations, the conference made the following recommendations. Recommendation 1. The full implementation of the Urban and Regional Planning Law at all levels, national, state, and local, is essential for the achieving sustainable physical planning and structural transformation necessary for national development. Recommendation 2. There is a need to streamline the urban and regional planning curriculum along regulatory frameworks to ensure the attainment of national development goals. Recommendation 3. Planning policies and laws should be coordinated through collaboration and harmonization of ideas among jurisdictions and actors, including ministries, departments, and agencies, among others. Recommendation 4. Planning laws should be reviewed, updated, and streamlined along regulatory frameworks that clarify the roles and responsibilities of different planning agencies and actors. Recommendation 5. There should be collation and implementation of international and national conventions, treaties, and laws relating to the conservation and protection of heritage resources, including cultural artifacts, historical and archaeological sites, and monuments. Recommendation 6. A comprehensive approach should be adopted to strengthen mechanisms that promote public participation, addressing underlying socio-economic issues and local realities related to urban and regional planning. Recommendation 7. The establishment of Urban and Regional Planning Commission, boards, and planning authorities, and the preparation of national, state, and local planning and local physical plans. Recommendation 8. An integrated and adaptive approach to urban and regional planning should be adopted to respond to the dynamics of urban development in Nigeria. Recommendation 9. Enforcement and compliance strategies that leverage technology-enabled systems and incentive-based approaches should be adopted. Recommendation 10. There should be co-production of knowledge among all professionals in the built environment, thereby creating synergy and removing barriers to integrated networking. Recommendation 11. Adequate funding for planning agencies is necessary, and planning tribunals should be established at the lowest level of planning law implementation in Nigeria. Recommendation 12. There should be stronger enforcement of ethical standards by professional associations and their regulatory bodies. Recommendation 13. For sustainable physical planning, the adoption of a holistic framework is indispensable. Recommendation 14. There must be strict enforcement of physical planning laws, regulations, standards, and policies on flood disaster mitigation and other extreme weather events. Conclusion. In conclusion, the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, NITP, and the conference appealed to the government and the various stakeholders to take necessary actions as articulated in the observations and recommendations in an attempt to ensure the Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law is more responsive to the challenges of national development. Thank you.
I think I can use this.
Okay, I know Adam.
Yeah. So you go over there. Now, observations. Item number 1 there. You have any issue with that? Yeah.
I think that recommendation number 1.
No. Observation.
Okay.
Observation number 1. Any issue? Okay, sir. Papa.
The communique group, what is your objective? What do you want to present to government and to the entire world? What is your objective?
The objectives,
What are you trying to, by this, what are you trying to present to the entire world
yes, sir.
and governments of the federal and state governments, and in fact local governments, and to the people? What are you trying to present? I want to know your objective in all this write-up, because we shouldn't be here now if this is what you have written. You are criticizing, or in fact promoting what Lagos State did that gave rise to the Supreme Court to throw it out. Well, all that you have written here is Lagos State's views.
Maybe I can suggest maybe you have to calm down here because
What
I can't
is
hear
your
Baba very well.
objective? Okay. I think you must have an objective.
So,
The theme of the conference is just like saying, what is it there? Nigerian urban and the challenges.
can't hear Baba.
The challenge of national development.
Sorry,
You are
sir.
saying no, it's a useless law. They cannot develop the country. That's what I understand by what you have written.
Mr. President, sir, please can you
Can
interpret?
you explain?
Yes, sir. Prof, thank you very much for the work. Just like Papa was saying, now let us identify and hit straight the fact that our development, our development is not actually going the right direction because of lack of physical planning. Physical planning impacts on economic, social development. So when we establish that to say that to get the link between the law itself and how these things were prescribed in the law, you know, just like what we had in the lead paper, various responsibilities given by the law to various levels of government. But because these things are not actually followed, it's impacting on the quality of our development. Because if we don't bring out this problem very well, thinking that we can just fault the law or the implementation of it, let's hit on the problem first, that we are not planning. Our cities are not planned. Our rural areas are not planned. And thank God, you know, like the barrister was saying yesterday, one of the initiatives is that they are now also turning attention to the rural areas. So they are developing rural development, rural physical development policy, as we have the national urban development policy. They are also working on that one, and that is an improvement. You know, so I don't know whether I've communicated.
You have really communicated, and we take good note of that. What you are saying in essence is that before really going to the real, what I would call the observations that are really related to our business in this conference, we should be able to highlight problems that have arisen because of our inability to domesticate and implement.
Those problems are the primary observations.
Yes. Yes.
See, you know, if you say, number one, the lack of domestication and implementation of the Nigerian and urban regional planning law in most states within the Federation, it doesn't make any statement. But we can say, look at our theme, the urban and regional planning law and the challenge of national development. So we can come by saying the lack of domestication and implementation of the Nigerian urban planning law has negatively impacted national development. That makes a statement.
Thank you. Noted, sir.
What did he say?
That
I just want to
lack
add.
of domestication
Excuse me.
negatively impacted on.
I just want to add. The lawyer who was here yesterday made it clear, very clear, and everybody checked. Our problem is not the law, it's the implementation. Even the constitution is subject to amendment. You cannot say that because we have not amended, it is of no use.
National development.
That's what I read in this. Our law is of no use.
National
It
development.
can't even be amended. But it is necessary that we adopt the law, start one. First, made the law. Correct. We've made the first foot out because of urban and regional planning law. What we now want, how to
I want to remove the lack
amend
of
this law
domestication.
to suit fast development of the nation. To amend the law to improve national development, facilitate national development. That's what we are talking about. That's what we must be focusing on.
Thank you, sir.
But when you put to the public, everybody, all the time, then you justify. The law we have is of and cannot be used.
You didn't hear, Baba.
Number two.
Very well.
I've
Then
done
number two.
I've done number one.
Yes.
Let me read number one. You can read it to them. Yes. Lack of domestication and implementation of the Nigerian urban and regional
Can we now
planning
see
law.
number one? Lack of domestication and implementation of the Nigerian urban regional planning law has negatively impacted on national development. Two,
Hello.
number two. Can we look at item 2, observation 2? The third observation, we've tried to explain that, but I don't know whether we can put it in a better format. But the problem is that we have frameworks, but the frameworks not in alignment with the law. Of course, we also observe that most states have not even adopted the law. So it means that they are just operating outside the law.
Hello. I was behind there. Nobody could hear me, so I just came up. I wanted to make an observation. What's happening?
understand where that is going. You know, we have two approaches to a communique. There is the one that lists all observations and then goes ahead to list recommendations. But that is saying that we should adopt the other approach, where you state the observation and straight on under it, give the recommendation according to him, which I think is true. Most of our executive officers in government, they don't have time. Once they read the observations and maybe they are not interested, they throw it off. So I think adoption of that approach will actually come into being what that is suggesting. Observation, follow it up with recommendation to that particular issue.
Okay.
I don't know whether you understand.
That's
I mean,
What did he say?
so immediately then we'll go with recommendation underneath.
What is he saying now? How does he want it?
I think, sir, I think what you're trying to say is that once we have an observation, then we put our recommendation almost immediately.
Our problem is implementation.
No, that's what we wrote.
If you implement it,
That's what we
we'll find how to amend
And
the
as well
law.
have beautiful programs and policies.
But you can't start
at
by
implementation
condemning the
level
law.
is always a very
Then every state will. Law is good, it's not perfect. The law is good, it's not perfect. Can be amended for our national development. That's all we're talking about here. That statement is just like a question.
Yes, sir.
Is the law good for national development? Is our present law good for national development? The answer is yes, let the law be amended where necessary. But we must go on with national development.
Thank you, sir. With all sense of humility, I think what we did in our group is to note all observations. And I want to believe that the essence of this meeting this afternoon, of this review, is for us to be able to come up with those ones that we feel are very concrete. We have listed about 10, 11. If you all agree in this place that it should not be more than 5 out of what we have listed, good. But we in our own group, if scholars they have some their own observations, however minute, it is our responsibility to list these observations. Then we can now whittle them down and say instead of 11, we're going to go with 7 or 8 or whatever. So this is a review process, sir.
Number what?
We are on number 4. Number 4, the urban and regional planning law is deficient in regulatory framework that clarify the roles and responsibilities of various planning agencies and actors. That is what we got from the presenters. And we have to argue it here. We saw it in our own group too, and we're a little bit. If we want to expunge, we can expunge. But our own, whatever these scholars have put in place, we have to report. Yes.
Well, thank you, Chairman, Communicate Group. Chief Obialo raised a critical issue. One major challenge is implementation. Now, number 4, number 5, number 6. Number 6 cannot be true. That is a law that says plans should be displayed. So we cannot now say the law has not promoted public participation. That plans should be displayed for 28 days, that people can object to plans as substantial matter of public participation. So what we should do, 4 is not correct. 4 will not flow. 4 is not reality. Law will only set standard for regulation. Law will not tell you everything now. So what we can now say somewhere is to say this law should make regulations that will guide the following. Not in that way, sir. 5.2, 5.2 is not correct.
These are observations
So,
as doled out by the scholars. By the time you get to recommendations, maybe they become clearer.
some observations are not genuine. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, and I've said with all sense of humility that this is the essence of this meeting. We have the right to expunge some.
Mr. President, sir, the way I'm looking at this, we won't leave here till 7 p.m. I think there was an error in separating the rapporteur group from the communique group. So the communique group were looking at papers that hadn't even been presented as at the time they sat yesterday, whereas the rapporteur group was taking notes as the papers were being presented. And the rapporteur group is not part of the communique group. I think it would be wise to make the two teams sit together for a few minutes. If not, we will just continue this argument because you may have discovered that the rapporteur group did not document what we are reading here, that the urban and regional planning law is deficient in regulatory frameworks. So, no, but that's an extract from somebody's presentation, which should have been taken off in the review of papers before they became published. So, my suggestion, sir, let's relieve this group of this burden, this headache we are giving them right now. Let them sit with the rapporteur group. It will help them to harmonize things on our behalf. You know, in a national assembly, it takes a lot of time. But when you have fewer people, we can get these things better. That's my suggestion, Mr. President.
Can we?
Let me add another. We heard yesterday, number one, that the law is not bad. It's the implementation. We heard yesterday that the National Assembly is reviewing this law, isn't it? These are the areas we will keep. If you write this and give it to a governor, he throws it out. He will not even look at it again. I've worked close to governors. I was a part of this. If you present this to him, he will not listen to you on urban planning again and your law, because you've written this. We just want to say this is what is there. It can be amended.
Thank you, sir.
Simple. That's our observation. All this.
Thank you, sir.
Then talk about other things, please. Otherwise, you are indicting all of us by this.
Thanks so much, sir. Honestly, like I've said, the way we look at this, the essence, this is a draft communique. And the way we look at it is for us to go over it together. We review and we come to a conclusion. Sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
Now, Papa, thank you for your observation. I think the observation is taken. The law is okay. Implementation is the challenge. All right, so we are going to reframe those aspects of the communique. Just like Moses said, 4, 5, 6, we need to redraft to meet with the reality on ground, because there is no deficiency. The deficiency is still a factor of implementation. That if they have not domesticated and then set up the structures, that is the deficiency. If not, the law is okay. So every state should should take, take their responsibility. So that is just how, yes. So that's what we need to do in managing 4, 5, 6. Now, for example, even number 7 is talking about one of the structures, and it is a matter of not setting them up. In some of the states, we already have the boards. In some of the states, we have the planning authorities, although the planning authorities are also very, very deficient because we are not getting the right professionals to handle it. We have issues there. Number 8 is more or less of English and looks a little bit theoretical. The adaptation to the dynamics of urban development in Nigeria is more or less, again, implementation. It is in the hands of whosoever is operating the law. Adaptation, moving on with the demands of the time is in the hands of whosoever is handling it. I think, if you permit me, I will say that with these ideas we have generated, I think you would have been able to catch the image of the reality so that we might not bother with much of what was said in the papers. The papers might be coming from classroom. Some of the people who wrote the papers have not seen what we are seeing on the other side of life in terms of implementation. So I think work with this. If there is a need that you want 1 or 2 persons to be co-opted, so that we bring the side of practice into the community, I think it would be nice. And that is to say, leaning on what immediate past president has suggested. I think with the things we have said, when we get the observations right, the recommendations become simpler. We don't have to struggle with the recommendations.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please, we want more.
And now they have understood what we have said now, so they will work on it.
Let me just say here, I have to repeat it again, and it's with all sense of humility. Give me an assignment. You gave us this group assignment. What are the observations from the various papers? That's what we have brought out. What are their recommendations? That is what we have done. And of course, we have 1 extra or 2 recommendations that are coming out of ingenuity from our group. But we have listened to you, and we can assure you we will do some amendments. We know the approach you want to use. We also talked about it in our own group too. But we don't want to act outside the information that are available. That is exactly that we have done. Our friend is here, is the leader of Rapporteur. Yes, maybe we'll sit down together for some few minutes and see what we can do. But essentially, sir, and I repeat again, we have done the assignment you gave us as group that is preparing the communique. Yes. We will, sir. We will. We will, sir. We will. We will, no problem. You want this? Okay. Okay, okay. Our father is saying our report should not be more than 1 page. Who does? We will try our best. Thank you, sir. Well, please, let's go to that.
Okay, you have to tell them that. Are we going to just leave?
Yeah, we will go. You know my laptop. You just send it to the
Let's let them know when to.
Okay. It's all right. So we can break.